Good evening, fellow Lions and guests of the Lions Club of Mona. I'm Jennifer Jones de Aguilar, First VP for the Lions Club of St. Andrew, and with me is Lion Dr. Aim, a graduate of the University of the West Indies and a Lion in the Lions Club of St. Andrew for over 48 years. This evening, Lion Dr. Aim will be talking to us about his personal journey with diabetes. Good evening, Dr. Aim.
Good evening, Girl and Jennifer. It's beautiful, wonderful to see you. I
Thank
just love
you.
your
It's a
and
pleasure having you with me this evening.
being a first VP of the Lions Club is really an honorary position or honorable position. I-
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so tell us, Dr. Aim, tell us about your lifestyle before you were diagnosed with diabetes.
Well, that's a very interesting question. Before I answer, I would say greetings, fellow Lions and friends. It's a pleasure being here with you. My life before finding out about diabetes has been one of a very successful personal life because although I grew up in Guyana, I came to Jamaica in 1962, became a doctor in 1968, and I met Professor Errol Morrison, who is one of the speakers. He was at Chancellor Hall and I was at Irving Hall. And when I was in Mandeville, in my practice in Mandeville, and we started the Lions Club of Mandeville, he came and he addressed us on the diabetes management and starting the Diabetes Association of Jamaica. But my personal growth to that point when I found out I was a diabetic was one of joy, happiness, being married at age 27. My wife and we have three children. They're all graduates, successful in their lives. So I feel unencumbered. I feel very joyful. I did my gardening. I enjoy gardening. I ate well, maybe too well, and and so on. And as you will get the story unfolded. So physically, I was involved with lawn tennis as a student at the university. I used to go and lift some iron at the Chancellor Hall. I was 98 pounds. And then something happened, a miracle happened after I got married. I got pregnant before my wife and up to 140 pounds.
Wow.
Just after 2 months of pregnancy, 2 months of being married. And you'll find out more about that as we go on, because there was a reason for it, a dietary reason, which contributed to my feeling healthy, continuing to be happy, and progressing in my lifestyle. So, and it involved not only Lions Club, I'm involved with Unity of Jamaica, and Science of Mind, and being a part of the Diabetes Association, and being a citizen member of the citizens group where I'm living. So all in all, I must say I had a rounded character, a rounded personality, and enjoyed the company of so many wonderful people, including yourself.
Very good. Thank you for that, Dr. Aim. Now, how and when did you find out that you were diabetic?
Well, I would say that in 2011, when I was 68 years of age, I was in the garden and the mangoes kept falling down from the tree. So three East Indian and two Julie fell at my feet in rummaging around. So I had the five mangoes and it sent up my sugar, an important fact for patients to know. And it was 12.4 when I did a random test, and my A1C was 8.4. Those figures will mean something later on. But the important thing is that I saw the doctors, and they, as well as my knowledge, that I had to be on medication, quote unquote, for the rest of my life. Because my mother, there were 8 sisters and 4 brothers. Every one of them died from diabetes by age 60, except two. One, my mother's sister, younger than her, who lived up to 80 because she used to do gardening and plant her little callaloo and go to the market and sell. My father was a public health inspector. So she was like the poorest one, but she was a hardworking. And then I had an uncle who was a parson, a Methodist minister. He lived up to 76. Apart from those two, the rest of them died, not exactly like flies, but died from one problem or the other. My mom had a gangrene of her foot before she died. So basically, that is my background as far as how and when did you find out. So that time I felt dizzy, I felt like vomiting, I had a polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia, which is not easily appreciated. Polyphagia means feeling hungry, apart from thirsty and going to the bathroom. That polyphagia propelled me, as I mentioned, to this 5 mangoes because obviously I was feeling good. I had no complaints before about diabetes. And then it struck me that that was to be treated. And the frightening thing, which will be reversed in the 4 years after, my thinking was changed, and I will share that with you. So the first question, how and when did you find out? So I mentioned the time, I mentioned the symptoms, and I was diagnosed as type 2 diabetic, and it was supposed to be non-insulin dependent, but my grandfather and grandmother, they were on insulin dependent. Of course, if you have type 2 and it's not properly controlled, then one has to go on to insulin. So basically, I've demonstrated, I've explained how and when I found out that I was a diabetic, and that was 2011. Okay. So your next question?
Right. So the next question I have is, what type of medication were you on? How were you medicated?
Well, the method of treatment is normally starting on metformin as a type 2 diabetes. But what happened when I took the metformin, I have a very sensitive stomach. I was put on another medication called Januvia, which has an insulin stimulation, but it has certain other benefits that you don't get easy hypoglycemia. Okay. But after 4 years of using that medication, which was making me hypoglycemic in the middle of the night, and having gone on 2 cruises, there was an abundance of food. I was eating quite wonderfully. And then in the night, I kept some little food, little snacks. And by midnight, when my wife was still fast asleep, and I checked my blood, it was, getting low, like about 4.5 up to 5, and I corrected that. So out of my overeating to compensate, I was treating the tablet. I got pregnant. I went up to 158 pounds. Wow. From 144 to 158 in a matter of the 4 years. And then I found the answer. I found the answer, which is the next question, I guess.
Right. How did you manage outside of the medications? What other methods did you use to manage?
I tried the exercise, I tried the diet, and then I found something. There was a fellow named Jason Fung from Canada, who was a diabetologist and nephrologist. And he explained in about 10 cases, it's available in the YouTube. I will share that with people who are interested, but even I mention it, it's quite good. JASONFUNG, Jason Fung, not FO. So Jason Fung explained that the more you take treatment, the more you want to eat. You get this type of hypoglycemic response. So I continued to feel good. And of course, I decided that that is a smart answer. Why don't I stop eating as much as I was eating while still taking my medication? So I decided to reduce my bread, 2 slices of bread, to 1. And I noticed that my sugar that was 12.4 came down to 10 the next day. So I said, you son of a bitch, I got you. I got you right where I wanted you. I could have seen the future. And in 2 months, I lost 14 pounds. Wow. And my sugar went down to 4. And I was feeling like I was dying. I started to feel dizzy, abdominal pain, sweating. I knew the symptoms because of my experience. So I sent for half a bottle of Pepsi Cola, and I corrected myself. And I made up my mind, no more medication for the rest of my life. And I continued doing what I had started doing whilst on treatment by taking my exercises seriously, my eating balanced meals, my starch, instead of one roti, I would take a half. Instead of two slices of bread, I took one. Instead of 3 or 4 pot spoons of rice, I take one. And of course, at this point in time, I advise my patients to cut out one of the starches if you can. Something that you like is good to get it over with. So that's how, at the moment, not 8 years, from 2015 to now, I am off of medication for diabetes. It's not wonderful? Totally, I would say totally cured. According to the medical advice, for a patient who is overweight, to use a sort of example, if you lose the weight and you maintain that weight loss for 5 years, you're considered to be cured. It's not going up and down like a yo-yo. So I consider myself cured, not controlled, because the frightening symptoms, frightening complications has grabbed me over the years.
Okay.
So I found the answer by, as I say, by following that. And of course, my brothers, my 2 brothers and sister, they all had diabetes. So that's another story which I will introduce here, is that my grandparents, my mother's family, there were 12 children and 93 grandchildren going to visit from time to time when there's a wedding or something. So they had a big cauldron of rice, a good big pot of dal, a lot of roti, and a lot of nice sweet food. And I figured that they being overweight, my 2 brothers and sister, they were born about 10 pounds in body weight. Another feature of pre-diabetes. I was born mager. In India and in Jamaica, the British system, when a son is born, you pass out cigars. And in my case, when the other children were born, near 10 pounds, they might have passed out cigarettes at that time. But when they saw me at 9 pounds, they just passed out. So that has an impetus on what I am now. At age 80, I actually am thankful for the fact that my genetic, through my father's side, my mom's side, was a side where this high level of eating of sugar and rice was very predominant. So I say thank God that I born mager. Over the years, I gained weight. And I mentioned about me gaining in 2 months when I got married. My wife couldn't cook roti, so she bought bread. And the bread was able to give me the correct amount of insulin secretion, the correct amount of weight deposition, without any extra sweating, which I used to do. And I gained the weight because I ate less. And I didn't figure out at that time that this was like a pre-diabetes or a diabetic management. But over the years, I got maybe 3 months pregnancy. I used to fetch around my 144. But now I'm 132. I lost a further 12 pounds because I had something called a cardiac operation. I had a triple bypass about 6 months ago. I share this with you because one of the doctors said that period of 4 years, when you had the pre-diabetes or diabetes, it predisposed you to having what you had, the blockages. And so it was corrected. So thank God for that. Yes. I'm guaranteed to live another 10 years. So you'll have to put up with me for another 10 years.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. So tell us about some of the other hurdles that you had to overcome.
Yes, well, the other hurdles, as I mentioned, when going out to parties to function, the biggest hurdle to most people is how to cut back, So cutting back on the various things, like as I mentioned, rice, roti, Irish potato, which the Indians call aloo, and change to yam or sweet potato or breadfruit or so. In other words, those are better digested. It takes a little bit more time. So the ones that give rapid glycemic index, in other words, rapid sugar climb includes coconut water.
Mhm.
It includes orange juice or juices. It includes honey and water. And it includes those fruits like mangoes, pineapple, and watermelon. So
Right.
one day I was giving a talk at the Diabetes Association, and a lady put up her hand, Dr. Persaud, I thank you, don't say anything more. I was taking 8 glasses of coconut water per day. And she came all the way from Spanish Town because she had a 3-year dilemma, could not control her sugar, and she was able to control it thereafter. She
Right.
realized the mistake that she was falsely informed that coconut water is good for your heart, coconut water good for your daughter, coconut water was good. So I explained to her, it's although it's good, but a glass is good enough. But taking
Everything
eight
in
glasses per
moderation.
day was thing. So moderation. Professor Morrison explained that if you feel hypoglycemic or empty, you can take instead of 3 meals, you can take 5 meals, meaning in between you take a little snack or so,
Right.
just to prevent the hypoglycemia.
Right. So
So that
tell our viewers now, Dr. Hame, tell them what are some of the dietary supplements that they need to take, some of the exercises that they need to do, pretty much a lifestyle that they need to maintain to be in control, to have good control over their
it's a
lifestyle.
beautiful question because I find that the diet and exercise may be okay. Some people even eat less and they gain more. And I found out the answer is stress. So diet is one, exercise is one, but if you have the stresses of life, and every one of us, we have some stress. Some people jump off the guns in the morning and don't eat for all 8 hours. So I tell them, for thine is the kingdom, for only glory, forever and ever. Amen. And I use that as a mantra, apart from teaching people how to meditate. The mantra of those 4 lines in the Lord's Prayer: Kingdom is money. Lord, you know how the money is going to come. Let me be thankful. Let me keep my behind quiet and stop worrying all night. The power and the glory, Lord, you have this health and strength, the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. You have the capacity to make me well. I thank you, Lord, for being able to breathe, For thine is the kingdom, the power forever and ever. The Christ within me sees the Christ within you. I see only the divinity in you, the divine within me sees the divinity. So that to me gives a spiritual dimension to it. So we need to focus on the faith, hope, and charity. To be well, we need to know that we are okay with God. We let go and let God direct us. We are not the boss. We're just the us. So we're not the boss. We're just the people like everybody else who's alive. So let me try to correct this. So count your blessings, positive prayers and meditation, regular church or group spiritual practice. Now, if everything else fails, you can't count, you can't pray, you can't meditate, you can't go to church for whatever ailment. There were 2 or 3 are gathered for social interaction. This is what we are doing in Zionism. We are doing something which is fantastically important.
Right.
I learned true Zionism in 1975 to 78. I was president 78 to 79. What a wonderful thing. We are giving love. We're showing, but we're not showing it enough. So I started a medical clinic, which I've been running for the past 48 years in a downtown area, first Sunday of every month. So my lifestyle involves that faith, hope, and charity. Charity begins at home. Let us not talk about love. Let's give some. Let us share it. That's faith. Hope is a love and laughter, peace and prosperity, health and harmony. We may have all the world to move mountains, but if we have not love, we have nothing. You know that. And charity begins with all the lifestyle things about eating right, exercising regularly, sleeping well, 8 hours work, 8 hours play, 8 hours sleep. Play means smiling, laughing, praying, meditation, appreciation of beauty, music, vigorous exercise, body care, rest, and give God thanks. So I give them the 10 talents, all taken from the Bible, and the principles. And then sunshine and teeth. I used to do postmortems in Mandeville Hospital for about 7 years. And my wife says, "My God, you look like the dead." And then I gave up because the day when she told me this, it hit me hard because I had done about 7 postmortems. People were dying for whatever reason, strokes, etc. But there was something interesting in my search. We all personally share and get information from other doctors and specialists. I was looking at the kidney, what caused the person's pressure to cause a stroke, what caused a heart attack. Turned out to be the teeth. People were not paying attention to teeth. So any rotten teeth or the scales, if not properly attended to, can send a shower of bacteria to the kidney and cause pyelonephritis, an infection in the kidney, which can send up the pressure violently. And so that was a good finding, which I share to my patients because many of them, they don't pay attention to their once a year dental care from age 20 to 40, and anything after 40, twice a year. You have teeth that will last 100 years. So please take care of them.
Okay.
So we have come to, I think,
Yes.
that question. And of course, I like to share my joke. Do you know how to make a garden laugh? Do you know how to make a garden laugh?
No, how do you make a garden?
Ho, ho, ho. H-O-E. Ho, ho, ho.
Oh.
I got a lot of laugh out of you.
Yes, that definitely did put a laugh on my face. Thank you so much, Dr. Hame. I'm sure our audience have learned a lot from you this evening, and any questions they have, they will email them to you for any follow-up. So thank you for answering and spending the afternoon with us.
And you have made my evening wonderful by being a good host, and I appreciate your commitment.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.